They say here, the manager would like you to create a report which shows for each employee how many units of each item is used, right? So if you look at the report, here is a report. This is a company that monitors the employees very closely. So like regardless of where you are working with this company, they keep a track of how much items you take, right? So if you take like pen, pencil, paper, whatever, they track how many units of it, the unit cost, the total cost. This sounding familiar to anybody? And they track it daily, right? So now as things getting harder, you find more companies doing stuff like this. So the manager would like you to create a report which shows for each employee how many units of each item is used. They want you to break down the list and by column, by region. And then they also want you to filter the stock used by item. If your boss came to you and said, do this report here, what do you think you're going to do? Well, based on the number of different things that he's asking for you to see and different ways you want to see it, you will more likely than not have to do a pivot table to create this report. All right, so this should take like 10 seconds normally to do. So if we in one, I want you all to do this one together with me, all right? So I'll go slow, all right? If you're in one cell of the data, right, you want to go to create a pivot table, you say insert pivot table. Insert pivot table. So what Excel will do, it should pick up the data range. So I want you all to do that. It should be A1 to G44. Right? So if you click OK, it will put you into that pivot table report writer screen where you could build the report. So click OK. Let me know when you're all ready, and or if you want me to do it back or whatever, is just insert pivot table. Right? And we'll go ahead. Yeah.
Arif, roll here. Is there a shortcut or a quick way to do that beside going to insert pivot table?
Yeah, you mean like a keyboard shortcut?
Yeah.
All right. So you could use the Alt commands, but it's still like a 3-click. So if you hold on Alt, the command would be insert. So it would be Alt N and V. Alt N V.
Thank you.
Yeah. Some people do it that way. Yeah. And actually, I met somebody somewhere I was teaching, and the guy actually remembered all those keyboard shortcuts by heart. I say, partner, power to you. I'm not gonna do that. But there are people who really into to that level. It'll be Alt and V and Enter. So that's 4 clicks. I just go and say insert pivot table most of the times by habit now. Right? So it's up to you. Now, once we create the pivot table report writer screen here, all we need to do is to get the report. So what you need to figure out, one of the first things you need to figure out is what do they want to summarize the data by? So what do they want to summarize the data by based on what the question says? Anybody?
By employee.
Employee, correct. They want it summarized by employee because they want a report which shows for each employee. And then another level of summarization would be by what?
Region.
By region, correct. But they want region in a columnar format. So over here, what I would have done, since we know they want to summarize it by employee, I would just tick employee, right? And then how do we summarize by region in columnar format? Where would we put region? If we take region, where would it go? Region is a text field, so if you tick it, it would go below employee, all there, which would give you rubbish basically. All right, where should region go? If you want to hazard a guess, you want to get a columnar breakdown by region. Where should we put region? Anybody?
By filters?
Column.
By columns, actually. It should go by
Columns,
columns.
okay.
Yeah. You just drag, in this case, because, you know, when you tick region, look where it would go. It would go under employee. It wouldn't give you a good report. You would have to actually, you could drag it up, though. You could just drag it up into columns. With pivot tables, you don't really have a wrong answer. The answer is really what you want it to be. So you could just drag the fields around till you get what you want. But I'm trying to give you all some rules, some basic rules with summarization and data. Right? The basic rule is whatever you want to summarize, you would normally drop it into rows. If you want a columnar breakdown of something, you would drop it into columns. So that will give you a breakdown in this kind of columnar format by region. Now, what are the values they want to summarize, guys? What they said, what are the values, the numbers that they want to summarize?
The number of items.
How many units of each item, right? So the number that we want to summarize is units. How many units, right? So we need to drop units into values. Now, because units is a numeric field, by default, if you take a numeric field, it would go into sum of values. You know that? How many units, right? So any you would tick it, or you could drag it into sum of values. Either way, it would be good to go. And what do they want to filter by in this report based on what they said? What do they want us to filter by, guys? They want to be able
Stock
to,
used.
they want to filter the stock used by what?
Item.
Item,
By
guys.
item.
Item, right. So we're on the right heading. You're kind of following here. I would drag item into filters. So let me see, like I'm getting some chat messages here from you all. All right, okay, that go on. All right. So I think Riyadh know a little bit about pivots, and I think who is the other person? Atlin, right? So basically, this is the report that they're asking for. Now, my question to you all is: once you put item here, you will have the ability to filter by item. Now, anywhere you see a drop arrow in a pivot table, it means you have the ability to filter by that thing. So my question to you all is this a good report? Is this a good report, guys? And if so, why so? And if not, why not? To understand if this is a good report, you need to ask yourself this question. What does 60 represent for Andrews? What does 60 represent for Andrews? Well, it could be a mix of pen, pencil, paper, and desk. You all understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In other
That's
words,
everything that he used.
right?
Everything
Correct. So my sense of this is that this is not a good report. Why is it not a good report? Because you don't have a it's not comparing tomatoes with tomatoes. It's comparing tomatoes with Zabuka with Dashin with something else. You all with
Well,
me?
they actually asked you to filter by the item, so it really not showing you that granular level.
Right. So, and we did put item in filters. So if we really want to get a good report, we should really do what? We should filter by one of the items. That way we would be comparing tomatoes to tomatoes across everybody. All that. We have a common item to compare everybody by. So like over here, we'd want to go to item and probably change it. You could probably change it to book. Select book, guys. From the filter, you want to go here and select book and then click OK. So now we have everybody being compared on a common basis. In other words, this is how everybody is used books in the company. And now we could actually see certain things sticking out. Houston, we have a problem. 134 books used by Houston. You all see that in Shogunas taken by Houston.
Yeah.
And look at this guy here, Gross. Gross was even more gross. Gross took 154 books. Whether he was in South or whether he was in North, the books was just going. You all there?
Yeah.
So when you roll up stuff to the forest level, you will, even with a little bit of data, because it's only 30 something rows, you will see certain things which do not make sense, right? So let me just label this PT dash. I would call it stock. This is a stock example. The last example I did was a survey, so this one is stock. So over here, now guys, I will not use Excel exactly as you. You will not use it exactly as me. They have like tons and tons and tons of ways everybody would use Excel, because all of us from different backgrounds, different areas and whatnot. What I want you all to catch with the examples we do is the principle of what we do, why we do. And then if you understand the principle, then you will be able to apply it to anything. You will be able to apply it to your own work and whatnot. But always when you're learning, apply the principle. I have little children, right? And I tell them that all the time. Understand what you're doing. I try to see if they understand what they're doing, why they're doing. And that is very critical. If you don't know that, then you wouldn't be able to do it in a kind of logical way now. Right? So think about what we're doing each time we do something, kind of try to relate it back to your work over the weekend. Well, when you get back to work tomorrow, you could look at your own data, try something, if you have a minute or so. Right? That's why I do. I usually try something and then move on from there. So coming back to this example now, right? So because we know that something is not right here, we have the ability to drill down onto this 1 to the 4. So if we double click here, what we're going to see is that this guy actually took 94 books in December 2017. You all there? You had to be playing Father Christmas, so you have a pal at home or something, right? The point is that you don't have to go and insult anybody or anything like that. You could actually, because you use a pivot table, you have an objective basis now to ask the question, why did you take 94 books on such and such day? All right? And you could get the response based on that. So with pivot tables, you see the forest, you see the trees, and then you could investigate accordingly. Right? I'm just deleting this drill down sheet here. Now, if you came to me with this report like this, I'll probably send you back to fix it. Anybody could tell me why? Well, I am old school, right? I came from a auditing and accounting background. So like if you come to me with a report and it have like all these blank cells here, that would be a no-no for me, right? It's either it have a number or it's zero. You all there? So is there a way with pivot tables to automatically, well, actually I wouldn't want a zero, I probably want a dash. So is there a way with pivot tables to automatically put a dash in the blank cells in the report? Anybody knows how to do that?
Would that be a conditional formatting by chance?
A good guess, but no.
Okay.
There is a pivot table technique to actually do it. So I'm just checking to see the people who did pivot tables, if they know how to do like some of the tips and tricks with it. All right, so if we wanted to do it now, this will only work with a pivot table. It wouldn't work in regular Excel. So like if you would need to go into you could be in any cell in the pivot table, even a name. And if we wanted to get the cells filled in, we could actually right click on the pivot table cell and say pivot table options. Right click on one of the pivot table cells and say pivot table options. Right, you will see our option here, something says for empty cell show. I want you all to put 0. You could put dash, but dash would also give you 0. So just put 0 and click OK. So that will give you the zeros here, but this is not what I want. What it is I wanted was I want to get a dash, not a 0. So you all did that? I could go ahead. You all want me to do it back or anything? Let me know.
Yeah, you could do the what?
Yeah, no problem. So all I did is I went to any one cell in the pivot table and right click and I said pivot table options. So like if you look here, the second to last thing. And then in pivot table options, it will by default come up to layout and format. Ticked, you will see for empty cell show, I just put 0 there and click OK. So what I would do, you all okay? That would actually automatically put in the zeros. But that is not what I want. I really want all the numbers that would have these zeros. I want it probably to be a dash. If you want to do stuff like that, there's a way to globally format numbers, but it will only work in a pivot table. You could right click on any one number in the pivot, and there's a very specific number format that will give us a perfectly lined up dash. So right click on any one number in the pivot table, and we're going to go to number format. Now pay attention to this. There is a number format in here in format cells, but that is not the one to go to. That would only allow you to change the number format for one cell. For global number formatting in a pivot table, you have to use this number format here. If I click number format here, you want to go to number, and actually the one you want to choose is accounting. So accounting would be the correct format to get a dash. You want to change the decimal places to 0, right? So this will come down to 0, and the symbol would have to be none. The symbol would have to be none. So change the number format here to accounting, decimal places 0, symbol none. If you click OK, that would do it. Any questions?